So, Megan, your video. I know that I texted you responding to it, but I don't really know how much I said about your video. Basically, it's the greatest thing ever. I've watched it so many times. I'm pretty sure every single view is mine, and every single time I just, like, remember so viscerally what that night was, and just how powerful everything involved was. As you know, Megan, I've been feeling a little bit weird about One Direction lately, and sort of what place they still hold in my life. That's a really weird feeling to feel, given the fact that I spent over a year of my life aggressively obsessed with One Direction. And I know we've spoken about how it's good that I am sort of cooling down and no longer so invested, because God knows I cannot afford the time and effort and emotional energy that I put into them last year, this year. But it still feels so weird to me to just not have that sensation anymore. I absolutely still like them. I still read a little bit of fic most days. I have pictures of them in my desk at school, but I feel like once it became not an enormous, all-encompassing conspiracy theory, that really disengaged me. Also, I think that just the concert experience was like the zenith of my One Direction fangirl trajectory, and I am never going to be able to top that, because never again will we be going to see One Direction with Squad 2 days before I move to Ohio, after we've all graduated and you're going to be going back to school, and it's this thing that we've been obsessing over for a year, and like the stars are never going to align in that way again. And so even if we see them again, which I'm sure we will in some capacity, like goodness knows we're going to go see Zayn whenever he tours, even though he's being kind of a dick right now, like it's never gonna feel that way. And so I feel like my body and mind have just come to the conclusion that I can't expend any more, therefore I have to sort of withdraw. And so I think the fact that Larry's not real, R.I.P., and I think the fact that they're going to be going on a break, and all of these things are culminating in my sort of lessened obsession. And I think that I've said this to some extent when we've been talking, but I do think that I'm genuinely more content as a whole in regards to my fan experience right now, although it is a little bit bittersweet, because I still follow a lot of the Larry blogs, and I still see them engaging in this thing that I can just no longer do. And sometimes I miss it, and I am wistful, and I still think that maybe 5 to 10% of me still believes, but I don't know, man. Another thing that I wanted to just bring up in this video is Roman history. For my Roman problems course, each week we have to write a 2 to 3 page response paper. So they're not really long, but they're supposed to be really, really intellectually hefty. And so that's challenging. And this week I wanted to, but I ultimately don't think that I'm going to be able to write the paper that I was thinking about, just because I don't think my professor is going to be into it. He's a little bit pompous. Also, he went to Harvard with Sarah, fun fact. But anyway, I've been thinking about the Larry narrative as it relates to writing a history of early Rome, because there's basically not a lot you can do with early Rome. There's some literary texts, but they were all written much, much later in Roman history, and so they're sort of like mythologized and fictionalized, and no one knows how true they actually are. And then you have some archaeology, but the archaeology is usually done in the context of can or can we not disprove the literature, and so that brings a whole bunch of questions into it. And so this whole idea of trying to reconstruct a narrative of what actually happened when Rome was founded, how did it actually go down, using these tiny little pockets of information that people try and string together, is incredibly similar to narratives created within the One Direction fandom, and any fandom. But explicitly, I feel like the One Direction fandom, because they're real people, and because the people curating all of the information and cataloging all of the facts and then stringing together the narrative from it, are doing so because they think there is this some ultimate truth that they can reach that is not being presented just to us, I guess. I don't know. So that's what I've been thinking about this week. And so I wrote something up the other night, and maybe I'll post it on Tumblr. I just don't think I'll be able to actually turn it in because I don't think Duncan will be super into it. Anyway, you've been you, I've been Boots, you've been Kinky, I've been Boots, and I will see you next week. No, you will see me next week for whatever theme I choose for next week. Bye.